I hadn't planned to say this, but I just want to tell you something very unique. My dad died about 25 years ago. I only took two things of his, one of which was a pair of shoes, which I'm wearing today. So, you know my dad, you know honey. To walk in his shoes is quite profound. Oh, wow, where to begin? As special as this day was in anticipation, the reality of it is actually pretty overwhelming, as you can imagine. I hope all of you know how meaningful it is to me that you came to me to be here with me today to share. Truthfully, I wasn't really sure initially I wanted to do this, but the stars actually aligned in three ways. One, as you just heard, my 83rd birthday falls today, most important, on Shabbat. Two, the Torah portion includes, of all things, the priestly benediction. And three, as it also turns out, this Shabbat is my mother's yahrzeit. The universe just seems to be telling me to do this. A few of you have asked me, of course, why. After all, it's not like I haven't conducted services and read from the Torah lots of times. One of my friends even quipped, so if having a bar mitzvah at 13 means becoming a man, what does bar mitzvah 83 celebrate? Becoming a dirty old man? She's sitting right there. There are two simple reasons for doing this. One, to celebrate being alive. And two, to celebrate the role that Judaism has played in my life. While 83 may not be the ripe old age it was in biblical times, when the psalmist wrote, "The days of our years are 70. 83 is still something special, especially when you've been through the last 7 years as I have. And what better way to celebrate it than in Jewish tradition, and who better to celebrate it with than you who are assembled in this room today? Many of you, as you know, who have been a strong support system for me. I've been at Emmanuel now for 55 years. The majority of you in this room have shared actually most of my life with me, a few of you, one or two, my whole life. And I cannot help but look out into this congregation and see the faces of so many who are not here, but whose presence is as vital and alive and vivid as the last day I saw them. They and you are my community, my village, as it were, with whom I am sharing my life's journey. And what more appropriate place than this sanctuary? In one sense, of course, because, as has been pointed out, it is the sanctuary of the temple that I have served since 1970. Standing here, I realize that from this pulpit as rabbi, I have shared with you intellectually my most important ideas, morally, my most sacred values, emotionally, my most intimate feelings and experiences, the ones that have shaped my life, and spiritually, my commitment to the covenant that we all share with God and with each other. But also because this sanctuary is special to me in the same way it is special to most of you. Linda and I were blessed on this pulpit. Our children were consecrated, celebrated their B'nai Mitzvah, and were confirmed on this pulpit. And had Linda not died during COVID, this is where I would have come 5 years ago for her memorial service to honor her memory and to be comforted by you, my community, my village. This building and this room, this sacred space, is my spiritual home. There's no place I could imagine more appropriate to celebrate my life and to share gratitude with God for the blessings that have filled it then here in this room and with all of you, you truly honor me by your presence. 1 second, please. The allergies are killing me. It really is allergies this time. The other part's later. As I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons for doing this is because of the Torah portion that occurs on Shabbat, this Shabbat, the one containing of all things the priestly benediction. Words I have invoked countless times right here. Words I have spoken to bless every newborn child that I name. Words with which I concluded the wedding of every bride and groom I have married. What more appropriate words could there be for me to parse for my second bar mitzvah than these? First, 3 pieces of history. 1, the oldest existing Torah scroll is the Bologna scroll, which is about 900 years old. The oldest individual scroll containing a complete book of the Hebrew Scriptures is the book of Isaiah, found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, dated about 1900 to 2000 years ago. But the oldest existing parchment with words from Torah written on them is today's third Aliyah, God's instruction to Moses to have Aaron and his sons bless the people of Israel using the words of what we call the priestly benediction. That parchment dates literally from the time the temple stood 2,700 years ago, making it, as I said, the oldest surviving parchment of biblical verse, so old it is written in letters that predate the current Hebrew alphabet. 2, the benediction consists of first 3, then 5, then 7 words. There are, of course, many attempts to assign meaning to this sequence. I personally like the ones from Passover in the Who Knows One ditty. 3 is the number of sections in the Hebrew Scriptures, Torah, prophets, and writings. 5 is the number of the books in Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And 7 is the number of the days in the week. And one commentator added, there is even special significance to the fact that the line with 7 words, the last line, ends in the word peace, connecting it not only to the 7 days of the week, but the 7th day of the week, as depicted in our greeting, Shabbat Shalom. Third, and this is really personal. Some of you in this room may be familiar with an old tradition called duchening. One of my fondest memories of childhood is sitting with my dad during that part of the Yontif service. All the Kohanim would go up onto the pulpit, make the shape of the letter Shin for Shaddai, combine them into a 4-shaped square, the 4 letters of Yud He Vav He, pull the talit up over their head, and with their hands shaped like this, would repeat one word at a time. The leader would call out the words, and the other Kohanim would repeat. And this went on through the entire blessing. It was such a dramatic moment, and to me, while probably not exactly the same, surely reflective of how dramatic it must have been when the priests would gather the people in the courtyard of the temple and bless them. So as I began to think about my Devar Torah, I realized that because we hear the words so often, they've become somewhat routine. You might even say, we take them for granted. That's just how a worship service ends. And even if we do take them seriously, we don't parse their meaning. We treat them as a whole, the priestly benediction. But what does it mean for God to bless us, to have God's face shine on us and be gracious to us, to have God's face turn toward us and grant us peace. Where do you turn for answers? Jewish tradition and the rabbinical commentaries. What does it mean for God to bless us and keep us? The answer, says our tradition, is quite simple. It is to have our basic material needs: food to protect us from hunger, clothing to protect us from the cold, a home to keep us safe from harm. To have these basic materials, says our tradition, is to have God's blessing and protection. And if I have learned anything over the years, to not take them for granted is what it takes to see them as blessings. To see them as blessings is to appreciate them. To appreciate them is to share them with others not so blessed. And so that is why, as my mitzvah project, the table decorations for today's luncheon are boxes filled with non-perishable food, which I'm donating to the Emergency Aid Coalition. What does it mean for God's face to shine on us and be gracious to us? Our tradition says that means knowledge and understanding. One of the images we use for our time on earth is the path of our life. That path needs illuminating. What better light than divine light, shining on us, illuminating our path so that we know which way to go when the paths fork, showing us the ideas and values to live by. And as with the first blessing, to walk that illumined path means to share that light. Nowhere better expressed than on the walls of this temple. Behind that screen, the words say, "Be a light unto the nations. Live in such a way that others will also want to walk the path illumined by God's light." Spiritual awareness deepens our lives by seeking a connection with the divine that inheres in every part of creation. To live with the awareness that holiness surrounds us and the sacredness of our task we are all expected to live by is to be bathed in God's light and God's grace. And finally, what does it mean for God's face to be lifted up to us, to bestow favor on us and bless us with peace? Judaism asserts that all human beings, all of us, are partners with God in the work of creation. The physical part of creation was done, and at the end of 6 days, God rested. But as the Shema itself implies, history is the ongoing part of creation. We all know how fractured our world is. Tikkun olam, putting those pieces, those broken fragments back together, is man's, human beings' part in creation. Peace is obtained, as the very word shalom itself tells us, when we restore wholeness to our lives and the world. And behind that screen on the other wall are written the words that can help us do that. Do justly. Love mercy. Walk humbly with God. To live in this way is to know peace and to cause peace. Like all of you, I pray that day will come soon. As we sing at the end of Aleinu, on that day the Lord will be one and his name will be one. On that day, humanity, please God, will be one, united in mending the woes of the world, not only praying for peace, but working together to achieve it. May that day come soon for the world. Now, everyone knows that a bar mitzvah speech isn't a bar mitzvah speech without a lot of thank yous. Not because it's routine, by the way, but because special events don't occur without a lot of help. So allow me, please, first to express thanks to some very special people. I start at the beginning with no hesitation. to the host of doctors, nurses, and technicians at MD Anderson who have helped me get through the last 7 years. Primary among them, Dr. Maria Zarzur and her amazing team. When my cancer recurred 2 years ago, I said, "Okay, Doc, I need you to get me to June 7, 2025 for my bar mitzvah." And she said, "I can't guarantee it, but we're going to do everything we can to get you there." Dr. Z, I don't know where you are, but to you and your entire team, thank you. Thank you for living up to your part of the deal so I could be here today. God bless you, and God bless the work that you and everyone at MD Anderson does. Next, to a host of people who have helped me make today possible. First, to Myra, whose life is so entwined with mine and my family's on every level. Without you, I don't think today would have happened as smoothly as it did. And you and I both know, thank you does not begin to cover how either one of us feels. Gail and Donnie and Linda, thank you for showering my out-of-towners with Houston-style hospitality. Now, the next thank you is very unusual until I explain it. You see, you would think an 83-year-old man could dress himself for today. Not so. So thanks to 9 people, yes, 9, that it took to get me here today. To Larry and Gail, thank you for convincing me, which is rabbi talk for coercing me, to accept that a bar mitzvah boy isn't a bar mitzvah boy, whether at 13 or 83, without a new suit. To Heather, for choosing the perfect tie. To the 2 people responsible for this gorgeous new talit. Becky, thank you for taking the time to hand weave it so that I would have a special talit for today. And to Scotty, for the gift of her handiwork by adding the atara and by making the corners secure for the fringes. And just something special, this is Scotty's idea, I have to give her credit for it. The cloth that is securing the corners is from the train of Linda's wedding gown. So everybody's with me today. To Rabbis Hayon and Silk and Fixler and Cantor Simmons, who did me the honor of tying the tzitzit on the corners to make this into a talit. To all 9 of you, thank you for the love that went into each and every step. You helped make today very special. Some of you know that I wanted this to be a somewhat old-fashioned Emmanuel bar mitzvah. So to Sylvia and our wonderful sisterhood and all who baked the delicious desserts and plated them for today's luncheon, the list is way too long to enumerate, but please know how appreciative I am. I cannot wait to sample them. To Pam Kuttner, who baked a challah for the pulpit that I will be reciting the bracha over, the motzi at the end. To my Emmanuel ladies of the Lamar Tower, I don't need to call your names out because your aprons will have your name on them, for adding the old-fashioned hospitality of being served. To Norman and Gail for providing the aprons that made that hospitality possible. To Rihanna and Michael of Houston Catering Company, who have been amazing to work with, especially going out of their way to recreate the old, wonderful sisterhood menu. To Vin and Dennis for the beautiful decorations you will see on the table for tonight and for making tonight possible for my out-of-town guests, and again, more than I could ever put into words. And Rabbit to Puppy, KKK, thank you for your special touch for the decorations tonight. And finally, to the amazing staff the support staff of Emmanuel, who welcome me with a warm greeting every time I walk in this building, and who made this process as smooth as possible. To all of you, especially Christian, thank you for helping make today beyond my expectations with ease. I am truly grateful. If you were bar or bat mitzvah at Emmanuel, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. In the vein of Emmanuel tradition, I have to tell you something I did earlier this week. In recognition of and out of respect for the years that Mrs. Wilkenfeld spent preparing for bar mitzvah kids at Emmanuel, I went to her home earlier this week and read her my bar mitzvah speech. I don't know if she knew I was there, but I did. It was such a special moment. I don't have the words to tell you how meaningful. There is a special guest here this morning, someone I want you all to say hello to. When you are employed at Temple Emmanuel, you are not just an employee, you're a member of the family. Well, there's a member of the Emmanuel family here this morning who served prior to all of us. You're used to seeing her in a uniform in the kitchen, but today she's all dressed up not to work, but to be part of the family. She's had her health issues, but she's here today in full glory. Hattie, where are you? Stand up. Where'd you go? Where are you, Hattie? Here she is. She deserves all the love, let me tell you. I do want to take a minute to tell you why it was so important to me to ask the clergy of Emmanuel to tie the tzitzit on my talit. Oren, Pam, Josh, Rollin, when you have spent your entire career in one synagogue, you can't help but feel a little anxious when it comes time to step away. Please know that whatever anxiety I felt when I retired 14 years ago melts away every time I watch the four of you guide Emmanuel into the future. The challenges that you face as Jewish clergy in this age of anger, confusion, and doubt, of disharmony and disconnection are overwhelming. Honestly, they require skills and patience and planning that boggle my mind. As the fringes are what make a talit not just a garment, but a spiritual garment, you, alongside the amazing lay leadership of this congregation, are what make Emmanuel what it is. Your devotion and skills to keeping alive the vision of our founders, who imagined Emmanuel, as you heard earlier, in the words of our founders, an adventure of the Spirit. So I thank you for keeping that vision alive. And finally, to the 8 people who are the heart of my life: Benjamin and Kelly, Michelle and Jason, Aaron and Mikey, Ethan and Hannah. I could speak about you individually, but that would take way too long. I know that like you, like me, you wish Mom, Savta were here to be alive to celebrate us, but especially to see the amazing people each of you has become. No parent or grandparent could be more proud of who you are and more appreciative of the love that you give back to me. If I were to make a list enumerating all the things that I am grateful for in my life, the list would begin with the 8 of you, and then there would be a very long pause till we get to number 2. So how on earth do I bring all of this together? Fortunately, I didn't have to look hard for an answer. Once again, Jewish tradition is my guide. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shechayanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu, lazman hazeh. Thank you, God, shechayanu, for giving me life. Many years ago, I wrote a little poem. What was once an acorn seed is now a full-grown tree. What was once an act of love is now a full-grown me. I am grateful for the night 83 years and 9 months ago when the love between my parents created me. V'kiyamanu. I'm grateful for these 83 years of life, not every day of which has been easy, but every day of which has been a blessing. V'higiyanu lazman hazeh. I'm grateful for you who are sharing my life with me and have chosen to help me celebrate it. Please know that having you here or being online, either way, know that having you part of us makes today even more special. God bless you all. Amen.